Cuba is expecting an increased amount of U.S. travelers flocking to the island nation in the coming months. Today, a JetBlue flight, the first commercial airline to travel from the U.S. to Cuba in a half-century. The flight marks a new era for those visiting the nation, but is Cuba ready for the influx of U.S. tourists? CBS News travel editor Peter Greenberg is here with some answers, and I guess that is the ultimate question. Are they ready for everyone coming?
And the answer is they are not. It's an infrastructure problem that dates back almost 60 years. In fact, there are only 60,000 available hotel rooms in Cuba, and they're already filled with the Canadians and the Europeans who have been going down there for 50 years.
Right.
So for cruise ship passengers who are going to Cuba, that's easy because cruise ships are your floating hotel. But for an airline situation, it's one thing to get on the plane, it's another thing as to where you're going to stay. What's really ironic and funny now is there are over 6,000 Airbnb listings now in Cuba. This has turned the Cubans into free market traders.
Yeah, so what can people expect from the accommodations there?
Well, basic, nothing great. You're not going to have great connectivity. You're not going to get your internet when you want it, or where you want it, or how fast that you want it. But more important than that, it's basic goods and services. Are there enough bathrooms? Is there enough mass transportation? Are there computer terminals being installed fast enough for you to be able to swipe your credit card should you want to purchase something? All that is taking time, and it's not happening right away. The first flight that you saw today on JetBlue was not flying from Fort Lauderdale to Havana. It was flying from Fort Lauderdale to Santa Clara, because even the Cubans realized that Havana wasn't ready, so they spread all the flying rights out to 8 other airports in Cuba.
People have a romantic notion, I think, of travel to Cuba.
My parents' honeymoon there, so I know.
And it is.
Well, I wasn't there at the time.
But the idea that they now go back, it's not going to be the Cuba that they once remember. Is there a comparison? Is there somewhere where you could compare this to people that you can expect it to look like this, or feel like this?
Up until recently, Cuba was caught in a time warp with all the 1950s cars and everything being machine tooled by themselves because nobody had the parts. But what's happening is, we have been living in a time warp ourselves. We thought that Cuba was not going anywhere just because we weren't going there. They are advancing, and they are changing, and they are modernizing. You're going to start seeing new hotels being built once they figure out the title problems of all the claims against the Cuban government that go back to 1961.
Right. Travelers, if you had to give them a piece of advice before going, what would it be?
Here's the deal. Don't be first on your block, or you're going to be paying for that privilege of bragging rights, because it's a law of supply and demand. Can you imagine 5,000 people a day flowing into Cuba looking for the last 3 remaining Cuban cigars? Cuba can't ramp up their cigar production. They can't ramp up their rum production. They can't ramp up the number of rooms available. So the smart travelers right now are watching the needle move to Cuba and then going to other ports in the Caribbean, which are going to discount because the people have left. Get the great discounts in the rest of the Caribbean now, wait 6 months,
and then go to
wait
Cuba.
for the infrastructure to catch up with the demand.
Is there any kind of timeline, Peter, as far as when they will catch up? I mean, you talk about
18 months to 3 years.
Okay, all right. It's a short time to wait.
It is a very short time to wait, considering we've been waiting so long to get there.
Peter Greenberg, thank you.
You got it.